11 deaths and 99 recoveries. 373 confirmed cases with 11 deaths and 99 recoveries. Our source remains the National Center for Disease and Control. To continue our conversation on the lockdown and its implications at this time for the country, lockdown phase 2, after the first 14 days, an extension had been made in the President's address this week, Monday, is Mr. John Wese, a strategic management consultant. Nice to have you once again.
Thank you, Otto. Also, always a privilege.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
3 p.m. It's a very interesting prime time to discuss developments as it has to do with leadership and management at this time. Yesterday was quite interesting looking at the lockdown phase 2 and the President's speech and some of the things he highlighted. But we talked about the social issues that will emanate from that. And we're seeing videos, we're seeing the concerns, we're seeing people being alert because of this rising case of mob groups, gang robberies, people moving in swarms, swarms of people working with weapons, and you're really surprised that in a state where there's supposed to be security, they move freely on the street and they're unleashing havoc. This calls for strategic security, policing. Some people are even making a case that they may need to bring in the military. What are your thoughts? Because if this is not curtailed, it may really endanger lives as we continue to adhere to the guidelines of the lockdown.
Thank you. I think, like we discussed yesterday, these reactions are things that I think the authorities ought to have prepared for. Maybe they did. The extent to which they were prepared for it is probably what may not be as robust, probably. However, it's a worrying situation for us as a nation. Yeah. And for each community, like we had discussed earlier, it's also very worrying. But however, I think we should still thank the way citizens in each community responded. From what I gathered,
their own vigilantes.
They became their own vigilantes. They became their own, people woke up. Lots of people have not slept, so they started sleeping later in the day. Yes. Because they were awake just to protect themselves, and the case may be. We cannot overemphasize the need for the military to move in now. And I think
you support the military coming
I
to
do.
Support the police, because
to enhance what the police are doing.
The Deputy Inspector General came in for the, I think, Southwest Zone, and came in to assure Lagos and Ogun residents that, look, we're on top of it. So do we still need the military coming in to say, let's support what the police is doing?
The question I will ask is, what's the total number of the police force in Lagos and Ogun? Can they contain this? I don't think we have enough. I don't think we have enough. So what I think we need to do is to say, okay, fine. Now that we're having this thing, it does not hurt to get the Nigerian Army team to join. Even if it means to just patrol alone, there's a way it creates fear in the midst of this group or these hoodlums or people who are trying to have ideas, to disrupt the peace in the environment. So I think it's never too, it's not costing. What are they doing in the barracks? What are the Nigerian Army doing now? Nothing. They're not doing anything.
I said in the Northeast, they're still securing parts of the Northeast where we have this.
The ones in Lagos is what I'm talking about. Yes, the ones in Lagos and in Ogun. State. You get my, what are they doing? We still have, they're not doing anything. So it does not hurt for us to deploy a few battalions, spread across these two states, to support what the Nigerian police is doing. Listen, as far as security is concerned, no effort, assistance that we put into securing the properties and the lives of our citizens is too much. None. None. So however they will put those things together, let's do it. Let's do it.
More of a joint security
absolutely
task force at this point.
Absolutely. By the way, this is not the first time they will do it.
Yes. I'm
sure you know that during June 12 issue, we had this issue. So we had those combined.
That was more of a military area trying to transit to democracy.
It just didn't matter. The police ordinarily was still primary policing guy. Yeah. So they supported. So we can always do that, as the case may be. No effort that government deploys. This is not the time, like I told you, we shared the other time. This is not the time for your ego to come forward. Your ego should stay at the background now and think of safety,
Yes.
and think of others. It's not about position. It's about the responsibility and giving that service to our people
At this time.
at this time.
And you know, in the Southwest, they were working towards this community policing, what we call the Amotekun.
Yeah.
If it had really been taking effect, I think it would have gone an extra mile to help, because these are people that understand the community and will be able to.
If it has taken effect.
In terms of
in Ogun State,
surveillance,
yes. In Ogun State, it has taken effect. I can tell you
that. We're still
in Ogun State that I'm aware of.
Yes.
Maybe I think Osun and Ekiti State,
yeah.
but I'm very well aware of Ogun State.
Okay.
It has taken off, and
so I think the governor, Dapo Abiodun, could also engage in that regard, because it's very critical, safety of people at this period. It's one thing to be indoors, and then people are now threatening your lives and properties. So I feel that even that access could be explored. What do you think about it?
Absolutely, I'm in total agreement. If we look at the current operations of the Amotekun and what is the feedback they've got to the authorities, right? We can extend that. You know, guess what? They know these guys.
Yes.
So they know these guys. So the way they have been operating is very important. They know these guys. So because these guys also know them, right? They will pipe down. They will pipe down. That's the beauty about community policing. They will pipe down. So we know you. We're not going to say because we are friends and you want to harm people, take their property, you get the point. So no, we'll take you down. That's how beautiful it is.
Because they know the people in the nook and crannies, so they know how to fish them out.
Absolutely. So they're not going to even bother coming. So all they just need to do is patrol. You know, just patrol. So the moment they know they are patrolling, they know they are not going to play, they are not going to be funny. So these things are also mind game.
Yeah.
You know, they are also mind games, which you need to play in the minds of these people. So the moment the first patrol passes a particular vicinity, then maybe Amotekun passes, the next one, the Nigerian police, then they see the civil defense corps, as well as the Nigerian army. They say, no, we can't operate. Yeah. So immediately everybody steps back.
That creates an awareness in terms of their operations.
Then citizens have some sense of assurance, you know. So the fears subsides and they can sleep.
Yeah.
Nothing troubles a man when he cannot sleep when he's supposed to sleep, unlike some of us who don't sleep in the night.
Taking very important decisions and trying to see what can be done.
Absolutely.
And talking about taking very important decisions, we have the Northern governors. I know yesterday you made some mention about their concerns about the lockdown, but more agrarian in terms of agro activities, the North Belt. We also see that they were talking about improving surveillance in the area and cross-border operations. They're also looking at how they can benefit more from the locations as a region, you know. So I know you had a case about the fact that they wanted to ease the restrictions. It's not that they are completely against the whole operations. They know that the interest of citizens is very important, protection from this pandemic, but they're also looking at those measures that will help stabilize the challenges of people while they're in the lockdown. And so these are the issues of concern. What will we be saying to the proposals, the ideas of improving surveillance and also addressing the plight of
their citizens? Well, it's an interesting conversation. Incidentally, I was speaking to a friend of mine that's from one of the northern states, and he too was saying, look, John, we need lockdown, but for our people in the villages, they need to go to the farms. Yeah. And all that. I said, what about if they go to the farms? Then these so-called hustlers, or is it rustlers, cattle rustlers, and co, kidnap, kill them, or dispossess them in a citizen. I said, I recognize how challenging it is. Now, for the northern governors, whatever move that they are making, they are responding to their unique environment. However, it's a political move. We all know that. Now, at least I think so. Okay. And I stand to be...
You think so?
At least I think so. And I stand to be corrected. You see, the federal government will respond to a state that is proactive, will respond to a state that is getting things done. States do not need to get jealous about Lagos State, or this is reality about Lagos State or Ogun State, for that matter, okay? These two states are principal hubs, you get my point, for businesses coming into Nigeria, okay? These are the economic hubs. Lagos State, for example. So by the time we saw what Lagos State was doing, so there was no, you didn't need to, they didn't wait for federal government.
They took proactive steps.
On their own, they
Yes.
took steps to begin to contain this pandemic.
Even though it still has the highest case, but you can see that it's doing a lot in terms of trying to
Absolutely.
contain it.
So the federal government had no choice than to support them. Because should anything happen in Lagos, we are in trouble.
Not just Nigeria, West Africa is...
Yes, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. So the federal government's move to support Lagos State should be commended. Now, let's go back to the northern governors. Now that they are beginning to give clarifications of how their lockdown is going to be, fantastic. But put your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
Okay? So let's see what strategic steps that they are putting in place, apart from building makeshift isolation centers. The most important thing is engagement.
With the people, with the populace.
It's engagement with the citizen, because a lot of these citizens, like, maybe we think these things are not true. They are. I told you, I spoke to a friend of mine from the north. They still believe that this thing is not going to affect them, the poor. But who are the meggards? Who are those washing cars? Who are those running errands for them? They are the vulnerable. For who? For the elites, who are likely transmitters, who are likely they're going to contact these things from the virus from. So that education needs to go in place. Now, the next thing is, how do they combat hunger and starvation?
Which is a very serious concern. Hunger pandemic.
Hunger and starvation, how would they? So you begin to see what each individual state is doing. Do something that is tangible first. Let everybody see. Then the federal government can, in their wisdom, say, okay, fine. I'd made some suggestions in the course of this.
But sorry to cut you, but you know that the federal government already has its social intervention plan, which is also working with states. So how can states come in here? I mean, you can go on.
How can states come in? Okay, from what we know, they already have a database.
Yes.
You get my, from which they are using to attend to each state in that program.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not even talking about that program. For me, that program is assumed and it's flowing.
Okay.
My thought here, or my point of conversation here, is pandemic initiatives of each state, especially in the northern states.
We should be like socioeconomic.
What are they doing to address the issue of hunger, starvation, so that people get things that they are doing? What are their own unique initiatives from their pulse? I had also suggested that the high net worth individuals in all of their states,
in the whole region,
have they gathered? We've seen Osun, we've seen Ekiti do the same. Is that not so?
Yes.
So what are they doing? I don't know if your state has done the same, or if Ondo State has done the same.
There are clamors for Oyo to do.
So you see, what are they also doing? They've got to call their high net worth individuals. They have high net worth individuals. And these guys have money.
Like in Kano State, you know, Dangote, who is from there, Dangote has made provision of a isolation.
He will do
center.
that.
Yes.
Kaduna, Gombe, Bauchi, Adamawa, you get my point?
Jigawa,
Kebbi. Sokoto, they have high net worth individuals. Katsina, they have high net worth individuals. So this is the time to reach them. They say, from whatever you have, please bring. This is our state. We've got to help our people address. You'll be amazed at the needs of people from the north generally. Their needs are not like those of us from the south, even the vulnerable. Their needs are not like those of us from the south. So they must think of creative ways to support their citizens. They are also our citizens. So by the time people see what they are doing, other donations can come from other avenues, plus the one the federal government is still going to do. Don't also forget that the COCAVID will also reach each state of the federation.
in terms of health. They've now specified they are focusing on the healthcare infrastructure, improving its scaling across the country.
Fine, they've chosen a trajectory to move into. Fantastic. So what they will now, what each state will now be sending to this committee or this body is to now say, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do, this is what with respect to improving the health systems inside of a place. And they don't need to go too far. They should talk to the state's primary health care development agency, because each state
has a primary health care development agency. Yes.
You know, which they align to the NPHCDA, the National Primary Health Care, you know, itself. So from there you can get to, they can now know what and what immediately to give to them. So it's not just the pandemic issue. We're also trying to see how they can use this fund to support the primary health care needs
in each of the states.
In each of the states, how that is distilled down. Fantastic idea. Yeah. That's what I think they should do.
And at this time of the need for funding, very critical at this time, we look at the global face and we see the issues between President Donald Trump of the US and the World Health Organization, the funding, cutting of that funding. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres didn't like that move. Global leaders have reacted, even in the US. Opposing Democrats have described it as a very wrong move. What are your thoughts on this? What is going to be the implication for the activities of the World Health Organization, particularly in research and development, which is key at this time?
Well, I think President Trump is reducing the influence of the United States, and these are great damages. Even Bill Gates have also passed a comment. In February, from what we gathered, they reduced their commitment from 112 million to about, is it 50 something million dollars to that post. I don't think we need to overflog the fact that what the U.S. president has done is short-sighted. He's a very short-sighted guy. All right, he's pandering to his political base, and like the WHO guy said, I've read different kinds of comments. Yes. Say, oh, because he's an African and blah 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 blah. You know, people have. I don't really think Trump doesn't give a damn. Anything that does not pander to his desires, to what he has in his fixation. All right. So here is a guy whose mind is fixed on what he wants to do and why he wants to do it. So even if his advisors, I'm sure his advisors have counseled against him to say, look, don't do that. You are going to be embarrassing us. He doesn't care. He's saying, I'm the president. So his idea of the presidency is absolute. That's his idea of the presidency. His idea of the presidency is that he's absolute. So what do you do with such a person? You just wait. You wait your time out and tell yourself, okay, with the right time, you will address. Now, if you look at China, even China has commented. You see, international diplomacy is tricky.
Very tricky.
It's very tricky. Now that we've seen this, so everybody is trying to be careful. But the rebuke that has come, both from their citizens and other global leaders, in my view, is sufficient for them. Will he rescind his decision? Not now. He's not going to do that, not now. As far as he is concerned now, he will do whatever damage he can in his journey to pursuing his re-election. That's who he is. That's his frame of mind.
November is still months ahead.
To him, it is not, because every month is crucial. All right? Yeah. Every month is crucial. Listen, he knew the candidate for him to compete against in the next election is who? Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden.
So he was not, he knew what was going to happen. I knew the moment Joe Biden was going to come on, that was what was going to happen. So he knew, which was that he set up all manner of investigations against him and his family, as the case may be. So if you're talking to, so when people are, how does he know? I said, listen, he knows. Because he knows, what's the guy's name? Sanders.
Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes. Sanders' ideology or his program, he's not going to win an election. he wasn't going to even win the Democratic ticket. So they need somebody strong. Yes,
idea.
because the way the Republicans are pushing the socialist campaign of Sanders is not as severe as it is, but that's not politics. What consistent message? You asked a question yesterday. You see, Trump understands what it means to give a consistent view, a consistent message.
Communication and engagement.
Consistent message. He knows how to do that. So that's what he's doing. He's playing to his base to try and keep them and push the blame away from him. You get my point? Yeah. To deflect his poor response. You get my point? That's what he's doing.
So the WHO really has to now look inwards, and of course
they've supported the DG.
Yes.
And the United Nations too have given full support
yes.
to him, and that's the way it should be. To tell him, sorry, this is a global body. You get the point. So that's what should happen.
I'm seeing a lot of international financial institutions and other people are stepping in to improve funding and support. So that's what we expect going forward. Back on the backdrop of this pandemic, we face a challenge, logistics for food distribution. And we've seen that even trucks that try to carry this are vandalized, attacked, and this is now having effect on food prices in the country. By today, the inflation result would be out for the previous month of March, so we'll give further updates and analysis on that. But how is it going to be into effect? Because if you're going out to buy and it's high, and a lot of people are not even working at this period because of the lockdown, it has its implications.
After we finished yesterday, I drove within our vicinity, within a certain radius of our vicinity to see what is happening.
Yeah.
People were virtually pleading, please come and patronize us. These are very touching moments. Please come and patronize us. That's to tell you what's out there. In terms of distribution, the lockdown does not affect the distribution of food. That's why firms that are producing food, flour mills, ground flour mills, all of them, they are on.
Yes.
They are on. They have that pass
for the exemptions.
They have those exemptions, so they are working and they are moving, which is why supermarkets and some malls are open for people to come and buy stuff. Again, if these frameworks or these plans are made to be effective by the police officers, allowing them to pass and not extorting money from them, maybe for the first time. You get my point.
Yes.
Food will get to our people, but the issue is not that the food getting to our people. The issue is, do they have the buying power? Do they have the money?
Producing parity.
Do they have the money, the cash to buy? That's the issue. That's what we are trying to contend with. If they're able to do this, then we know what we are in for. People tell you their ATM cards have expired. Those are part of the feedback I got in the last 2 days. I go observe what is happening. That's who I am.
Yeah.
By virtue of my profession, I want to be able to feel what are our citizens feeling, what are the difficulties that they are having. Just finding out that a lot of people still don't have bank accounts. So how do we ramp up in reaching the unbanked and bring them to where we are? A lot of people still cannot read and write. You get the point?
Yeah.
So how is somebody going to how do we overcome these challenges within this? So that's the challenge you find the government is also having in knowing how to distribute these funds, to this group of people, to the vulnerable. So yes, distribution, so far so good. We are making headway, but can it be better? Yes. Again, the petrol stations are working. I think the contingency plan that has been put in place to allow the free flow of goods from the hinterlands to the cities so that people can get these foodstuffs both fresh and I think so far it's been okay.
It's just the reports of attacks and all that, which
the attacks are also reactions.
Yes.
You get the point. Why are they attacking? They don't have money to buy. They don't have money to buy. So that's where government and well-meaning individuals should find the best way, and I suggested the BVN, savings account. Just start and do those things. There is a way these things, pam, 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 pam. This is not the time to look for a perfect plan. This is the time to look for an optimal plan. There's a difference between a perfect plan and an optimal plan. So what are the optimal solutions we can deploy in terms of people getting cash that they can use to buy stuff that they need for survival? So that's what I think they should do. So by the time these foods come, if you bring the foods to places they will buy, to our local markets and co and co and co, and there is no money to buy, what do you do?
It becomes another challenge, and that's where the people that have
What do you do? Look at in the US, milk producers destroying lots of milk. Meanwhile, the people that are vulnerable in the US don't have access to this. That's because of all these supply chain issues, distribution of this food to meet those people in the vulnerable areas in the US. As they said, we're having the same challenge. Yes. The only problem, we cannot produce enough. They have more than enough. They are destroying it because there is no way to move those food items, fresh milk, fresh fruits, from the farms easily to where it can even be given free, where possible.
That global supply chain has to be really addressed effectively.
As long as global supply chain is concerned, nothing can be done until we roll back to normal. Yeah, until we roll back to normal, So that's exactly what we are looking at. Today, what are we going to reflect on?
Yeah.
Two words I want us to look at today as part of strengthening our citizens' effort to stay through. The first one is knowledge. What knowledge are you gathering from your vicinity? First, what knowledge are you amassing? Am I amassing? This knowledge, how can I translate this knowledge into appropriate action to still help me to become resilient over this season? Because what we are talking about, all what we've been sharing is about resiliency skills, how to stay through. What is the knowledge? Am I learning new things? Or am I reviewing reports or things I've done before? Or am I going back to look at some emails I've sent or some posts I've done previously? Am I reviewing presentations or programs, learning intervention that I went before? This is the time to do all those reviews if you have those documents at home. You get either in hard or in soft copy form. What knowledge are you bringing? This knowledge should make you, which is my word number 2, should create energy, liveliness. That's my word number 2. When you collect knowledge that will help you become what? Lively. That will make you and I lively. Because you need to be in that state. Once you amass this knowledge, those knowledge that you amass should help you become lively so that you can share, so that you are not down. It's tough for so many people, but what knowledge? You got to do lots of self-talk, positive self-talk, to strengthen your resilience so that you and I can cross over. These are my 2 words for today. What knowledge am I garnering to make me become lively?
I think I have to just garner more knowledge and be very lively in this period. And I hope our viewers will also learn that. That will be all for this edition of the afternoon segment of our Economics Discuss. You can visit our website, www.proshareng.com, to get further updates from our website and market and economic reports. We'd also like you to join our live stream in the evening by 6 p.m. We will give you the human angle, experiences of Nigerians this period. We want to really thank you for staying tuned, and thank you very much, Mr. John Wese, Strategy Management Consultant, for the time.
Thank you, Otto.
Till we come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.